Commander stood on the observation deck of Meridian 7 and watched the 12 warships arrive. They came out of the darkness like predators, their hulls dark and menacing against the stars. Each ship was 3 times larger than anything the station had for defense. His hands gripped the rail tightly as the reality of the situation settled over him like a heavy blanket. "Sir, they're hailing us," said Lieutenant Park from behind him. Her voice was steady but could hear the fear underneath. She was young, barely 30, and this was her first real crisis. Hell, it was everyone's first real crisis. Meridian 7 was a peaceful trading station. They dealt with customs disputes and broken air recyclers, not invasion fleets. "Put them through," said. The screen flickered to life. The alien commander had gray, scaled skin and 4 eyes that glowed a sickly yellow. His species, were known throughout the galaxy as conquerors. They took what they wanted and destroyed anyone who stood in their way. "I am Admiral N of the Dominion," the alien said. His voice was like gravel grinding together. "This system now belongs to us. You have 48 hours to evacuate your station and leave. After that, we will destroy it and anyone still aboard. This is your only warning." The screen went black before it could respond. Silence filled the command center. 15,000 people lived on Meridian 7. Humans, even a few families. They had shops, homes, schools. Children played in the recreation areas. Old couples sat in the gardens. This was their home. "Can we fight them?" asked Ho, the youngest pilot on the station. He looked barely old enough to shave, with hope still bright in his eyes. Park pulled up the tactical display. "We have 6-point defense turrets designed to shoot down asteroids. Our shields can handle small debris and maybe a lucky pirate shot. They have." She paused, checking the numbers again as if hoping they would change. "They have enough firepower to crack a moon." "So that's it," Ho said. "We just leave." Looked at the tactical display. Those 12 ships were positioned perfectly around the station. Any shuttle trying to leave would have to pass through their firing lines. Even if they let them go, where would 15,000 refugees go? The nearest friendly port was 3 weeks away. They didn't have enough ships or supplies for that journey. "Send out a distress call," ordered. "All frequencies, maximum power. Tell anyone listening that we need help." "Sir," Park said quietly, "the nearest Allied patrol is at least 3 weeks out, even if they leave immediately." "I know," cut her off. "Send it anyway." The next hours were chaos. People packed whatever they could carry. Parents held crying children. Shop owners stared at businesses they had built over decades. Security Chief Sung, a gray-haired veteran with scars on his face from a dozen old battles, tried to maintain order as people rushed to the shuttle bays. "Commander," Sung said, finding in the middle of the madness, "we don't have enough shuttles. Even if we use every cargo hauler and maintenance pod, we can maybe get 8,000 people out. And that's if they let us leave." Felt sick. "Then we prioritize. Children first, then elderly and injured. Medical personnel stay until the end." "What about you?" Sung asked. "I'll be the last one off this station," said firmly, "if I'm leaving at all." Dr. Na, the station's chief medical officer, approached them. She was a small woman with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. "I'm not leaving my patients," she said simply. "Many of them can't be moved. I won't abandon them." Wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in her face. "All right, we'll set up a shelter in the medical bay. Reinforce the walls, extra power to that section." Park worked 20 hours straight trying to improve their defenses. She rerouted power, reinforced shield generators, and even armed some of the cargo-loading mechs with cutting torches. It was pathetic compared to what was coming, but she refused to give up. Her team worked alongside her, exhausted but determined. On the second day, they demonstrated their power. They targeted an empty cargo platform floating 2 kilometers from the station. A single shot from one of their cruisers turned it into an expanding cloud of molten metal and vapor. The blast wave rattled Meridian Seven's hull. In the corridors, people screamed. "They're showing us what happens if we resist," Sung said darkly. More messages arrived from the Admiral N appeared on screen again, his 4 eyes gleaming with cruel satisfaction. "You have 24 hours remaining. We have detected your distress call. How amusing. No one is coming to save you. You are too far from your precious alliance. Surrender now and we will allow some of you to live as laborers. Resist and you will all die. Choose wisely." That night walked through the station. He saw families huddled together, people praying to their various gods, others drinking heavily and trying to forget. He stopped by a window where a young girl pressed her hand against the glass, looking out at the stars. "Are the bad ships going to hurt us?" she asked. Knelt down beside her. "Not if I can help it," he said. It was a lie. He knew it was a lie, but what else could he tell her? The girl's mother appeared and took her away, giving a look that was part grateful and part accusatory. She knew the truth, too. In the command center, called a meeting with his senior staff. Park looked like she hadn't slept in days. Sung checked and rechecked his weapons. Dr. Nuh sat calmly, her hands folded in her lap. Ho couldn't sit still, packing back and forth. "I'm not ordering anyone to stay," said. "If you want to take a shuttle and try to get out, I understand. But I'm staying. This station is full of people who can't leave, who have nowhere to go. If they want to destroy it, they'll have to go through me first." "You can't fight them alone," Park said. "Then don't make me," replied. One by one they nodded. They would stay. They would fight with whatever they had, even though they all knew how it would end. Sent one final message on all frequencies. His voice was steady as he recorded it. "This is Commander of Meridian 7 Station. We are under attack by forces. We have civilians, children, elderly. We cannot evacuate. We will not surrender if anyone can hear this. We need help, please. We need help." The message went out into the void, traveling at the speed of light toward stars that were too far away. Watched it go on the sensors, a tiny signal disappearing into the vast darkness of space. "How long do we have?" he asked. Park checked the countdown. 12 hours. 12 hours until they came to kill them all. 12 hours until the end. Straightened his uniform and returned to the command deck. If these were his last hours, he would face them standing up. The countdown showed 10 hours remaining when the power failed in Section 7. Park ran through the corridors with her emergency kit, her team struggling to keep up. The backup generators kicked in after 30 seconds, but those 30 seconds felt like a lifetime in the darkness. She could hear children crying, people calling out in fear. "It's the main conduit," said her assistant, Wu, a nervous young man who usually monitored the long-range sensors. He pointed his flashlight at a bundle of melted cables. "The stress from all the rerouting is too much. The system wasn't designed for this." Park wanted to scream. Instead, she took a deep breath and started pulling out tools. "Then we bypass it, reroute through Section 8. "That will take hours," Wu protested. "Then we better start now," Park said. They worked in the cramped maintenance tunnel, their hands bleeding from sharp edges and hot metal. Park's back ached from bending over, but she didn't stop. Every minute counted. Every second meant the station would last just a bit longer. Meanwhile, Commander walked through the refugee area. Hundreds of people waited there, those who couldn't get on the shuttles. They sat on the floor with their belongings in bags and boxes. Some families had children sleeping on blankets. Others stared at the walls with empty eyes. An old woman grabbed his arm as he passed. Her skin was pale blue and wrinkled with age. "Tell me the truth," she said in a quiet voice. "We're going to die, aren't we?" Looked into her ancient eyes. He wanted to lie to give her comfort, but she deserved honesty. "I don't know," he said, "but I promise you this. I will do everything in my power to keep you safe, every single thing." She patted his hand. "You're a good man, Commander. I hope your gods are watching." Security Chief Sung had organized the volunteers into something resembling a defense force. They had 18 people total, armed with whatever they could find. Maintenance tools, cutting lasers, even a few old projectile weapons from the security locker. It was a joke compared to what they would bring, but Sung drilled them anyway. When they board, and they will board, we need to slow them down, he told the group. They stood in the cargo bay, looking more scared than ready. We set up ambush points at every intersection. We make them pay for every meter. We buy time for the civilians to get to the reinforced sections. A young cargo handler named Min raised his hand. Chief, what if we can't stop them? Sung looked at the boy. He was maybe 20 years old with soft hands that had never held a weapon before today. Then we die trying, but we die standing up, protecting people who can't protect themselves. That means something. That has to mean something. Dr. Nuh worked in the medical bay, preparing for what was coming. She organized supplies, set up emergency surgical stations, and trained volunteers in basic first aid. She moved with calm efficiency, but inside her heart was breaking. So many people would die. So many she couldn't save. A nurse approached her. Doctor, shouldn't you evacuate? You could get on one of the shuttles. And who would care for the patients? Dr. Nuh asked. Who would help the injured when the fighting starts? No, I stay. This is where I'm needed. The nurse started crying. Dr. Nuh pulled her into a hug. It's all right to be scared, she said softly. I'm scared too, but we do our duty anyway. That's what makes us human. With 8 hours remaining, Lieutenant Ho volunteered for a dangerous mission. Someone needed to test the blockade, to see if shuttles could escape. Didn't want to send anyone, but they had to know. Ho climbed into an old transport shuttle. The thing was barely space-worthy, held together with patches and prayers, but it was fast, or at least it used to be. He ran through the pre-flight checks with shaking hands. Good luck, Lieutenant, his voice came through the comm. Thank you, sir, Ho replied. He didn't mention that he'd left a message for his family just in case. He didn't want to think about that. The shuttle launched from the bay and accelerated toward the edge of the perimeter. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Ho started to hope maybe they would let him pass. Then the targeting alarm screamed. 3 fighters appeared on his sensors, moving to intercept. Warning shots flashed past his canopy, bright streaks in the darkness. Shuttle, return to the station immediately or be destroyed, came the transmission. Ho spun the shuttle around and ran back to Meridian 7. The fighters followed him all the way to the docking bay, making sure he understood the message. There would be no escape. They were trapped. When Ho climbed out of the shuttle, his legs were shaking so bad he could barely walk. Met him in the bay. Well, the commander asked. They're not letting anyone leave, Ho said. We're stuck here. Nodded slowly. He'd expected that answer, but hearing it confirmed still hurt. With 6 hours remaining, Wu detected something strange on the sensors. A brief flicker at the extreme edge of the system, then nothing. He checked it 3 times, ran diagnostics but couldn't get a clear reading. Commander, he called to over the comm, I might have something. Could be a contact entering the system, but it disappeared. Rushed to the sensor station. Show me. Wu pointed to the screen. There just for a moment, then nothing. Could be a sensor ghost, could be debris, could be. He paused, not wanting to say it. Could be a ship finished, running silent. But who would do that? Wu asked. Nobody runs that dark, it's too dangerous. Stared at the screen, hopping with everything he had. But hope was dangerous. Hope could break you when it died. Keep monitoring. Tell me if you see anything else. But the sensors showed nothing. The flicker had been a ghost, a trick of tired equipment and desperate wishful thinking. Admiral N sent another message. His 4 eyes glowed with amusement. You have 6 hours. We have monitored your distress calls. We have seen your pathetic attempt to run our blockade. You are alone. Your allies have abandoned you. Surrender now and some will live. Delay further and we will board your station and take great pleasure in making examples. Deleted the message without responding. Park finally finished the power reroute in Section 7. The lights came back on and people cheered weakly. She allowed herself 30 seconds to rest, sitting on the floor with her back against the wall. Her hands were covered in burns and cuts. Every muscle in her body screamed in pain. Wu sat down beside her. "Do you think anyone heard our distress call?" he asked. Park was too tired to lie. "No, we're too far out. Even if they heard it, they couldn't get here in time." "Then why are we doing this?" Wu gestured at the repaired cables, the reinforced systems. "Why not just give up?" Park looked at him. "Because giving up means we accept what they want to do to us. It means we lie down and die without even trying. I won't do that. I'll fight until my last breath, even if it doesn't matter, even if nobody ever knows, because it's right." Wu nodded slowly. "Okay, then I'll fight too." In the command center, gathered his staff one more time. They looked exhausted, running on stimulants and pure determination. He wanted to give them a rousing speech, something to lift their spirits, but he was too tired for speeches. 6 hours, he said simply. "When they come, we make them regret it. We show them that attacking innocent people has a cost. We show them what humanity looks like when we're pushed to the wall." Park spoke up. "Sir, I've set all the reactors to overload on your command. If they board us, if we lose, we can take some of them with us." Looked at her in surprise. Destroying the station would kill everyone, but it would also take out any ships docked with them. It was a last resort, a final act of defiance. "Good," he said. "If we're going down, we're taking them down too." The final hours crawled by. People tried to rest but couldn't sleep. They held each other and whispered prayers. They checked and rechecked their meager weapons. They waited for the end to come. And in the darkness beyond the station, something moved through space like a ghost, invisible to every sensor, getting closer with each passing second. The countdown hit 3 hours and the fleet moved closer. Commander watched them on the tactical display, 12 dark shapes tightening the noose around Meridian 7. They were in no hurry. They knew their prey couldn't escape. In the refugee section, parents put their children to sleep with old stories and soft songs. They didn't tell them what was coming. Some things were too terrible to explain to young minds. Let them sleep peacefully for these last few hours. Let them have that mercy at least. Park made her rounds through the engineering sections one final time. She checked every system, every backup, every desperate measure they had prepared. Her team followed behind her like ghosts, too tired to speak. They had done everything possible. The station was as ready as it would ever be, which meant it wasn't ready at all. "Chief," Wu called from the sensor station. His voice was different, excited and afraid at the same time. "I've got that anomaly again. Same location as before." Crossed the command center in 3 strides. "What am I looking at?" "Nothing, that's the problem." Wu pointed at empty space on the screen. "But the gravitational sensors are detecting a mass where there shouldn't be anything. It's like something is there but we can't see it." "How big?" asked, his heart starting to beat faster. Wu ran the calculations. "Big, really big, ship-sized, but there's no heat signature, no engine emissions, no power readings, nothing." "Could the sensors be broken?" Park asked. "I ran diagnostics 4 times, Wu said. "Either our sensors are completely wrong, or something is out there hiding from us." Stared at the empty space on the screen. He wanted to believe it was help coming. He wanted it so badly it hurt, but hope was dangerous. Hope could destroy you when it turned out to be nothing. "Keep watching," he ordered, "but don't tell anyone else, not yet." With 2 hours remaining, Lieutenant Ho sat in his shuttle and performed pre-flight checks for the 5th time. He wasn't going anywhere, but it gave him something to do besides think about dying. The other pilots gathered around him in the bay, all of them too young, all of them trying to be brave. "You really think we can hurt them?" one pilot asked. She was barely out of training, her flight suit still shiny and new. Ho shrugged. Our shuttles have cutting lasers for salvage work. Maybe we can scratch their paint before they blast us. He tried to make it sound like a joke, but nobody laughed. Dr. Na walked through the medical bay, checking on her patients one last time. Many of them were too sick or injured to move to the shelters. They would stay here in their beds when the end came. She stopped by each bed, holding hands, offering comfort. An old human man with cancer grabbed her wrist. "Doc, do me a favor." "Anything," she said. "When it starts, give me something. I don't want to be awake for it." His eyes were clear and calm. He had accepted his fate. Dr. Na nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She prepared sedatives for all the patients who wanted them. It was a small mercy she could give. Security Chief Sung positioned his makeshift militia at strategic points throughout the station. They had practiced the plan a dozen times. When they boarded, they would fall back fighting, leading the enemy away from the civilian shelters. It would buy maybe 10 minutes. 10 minutes wasn't much, but it was something. The young cargo handler Min kept fidgeting with his weapon, a heavy cutting laser repurposed for combat. "Chief, I'm scared." Sung put a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Good. Fear keeps you alert. Just remember you're not fighting for yourself. You're fighting for every child in the shelters, every elderly person who can't run, every doctor staying with their patients. You're giving them a few more minutes of life. That's worth dying for." Min nodded, trying to look brave. Sung wanted to send him away, to tell him to hide with the civilians. But they needed every person who could hold a weapon. With 1 hour remaining, Admiral N appeared on screen again. His 4 eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Your time is up, humans. We gave you every chance to surrender. Now you will learn the price of defiance." The fleet formed an attack formation. The dreadnought moved to the front, its massive guns swiveling to target the station. Energy readings spiked as the ship began charging its main weapon. "That's the killing shot," Park said quietly. "One hit from that will crack us open like an egg." Opened a channel to the entire station. His voice echoed through every corridor, every room, every shelter. "This is Commander. They are attacking. Get to the interior shelters now. To everyone who stayed to fight, you have my respect and my gratitude. We held the line as long as we could. Whatever happens next, know that you stood for something. You refused to surrender. History will remember Meridian 7. He closed the channel and turned to his crew in the command center. "It's been an honor serving with you." Park saluted. Wu tried to but couldn't stop shaking. Ho's voice came over the comm from the flight deck. "Sir, we're ready down here. If they board, we'll make them pay." The dreadnought's main gun finished charging. A massive energy signature built at the front of the ship, enough power to vaporize a small asteroid. The tactical display showed the targeting solution locked on Meridian 7's main reactor. One shot would kill 15,000 people instantly. Watched the energy readings climb. He thought about his family on Earth, his parents who had been so proud when he got this command. He thought about all the people sheltering in the station's core, praying for a miracle that wouldn't come. He thought about how humanity would remember this day if anyone survived to tell the story. The dreadnought fired. A beam of pure energy lanced across space, bright enough to blind anyone looking directly at it. In 3 seconds it would hit the station. In 3 seconds, everyone would die. 2 seconds. 1 second. The beam struck something that wasn't there a moment before. A massive ship appeared directly in the beam's path, shields flaring brilliant blue as it absorbed the entire shot. The vessel was huge, bigger than any ship had ever seen outside of military footage. It had been running completely dark, every system powered down to near zero, drifting through space like a ghost. Now it dropped the stealth protocols and lit up like a star. Wu's console exploded with alarms. "Contact, unknown vessel." It was right there the whole time. stared at the tactical display, not believing what he was seeing. The ship's IFF beacon finally resolved. The words appeared on every screen in the command center. HMNV Indomitable, Terran Confederation Navy, Wraith-class Battlecruiser. Human military, Park whispered, that's one of ours. A voice came over the emergency frequency, calm and cold as ice. Attention fleet. This is Fleet Commander Lee Han of the Terran Confederation Navy. You are targeting civilians under Terran protection. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately, or you will be destroyed. You have 30 seconds to comply. On the screen, Admiral N looked shocked for just a moment. Then he started laughing. His 4 eyes blazed with contempt. One ship. You challenge the might of the Dominion with a single vessel. Your arrogance will be your death, human. The fleet turned their weapons on the Indomitable. 11 warships and a dreadnought, all targeting the human battlecruiser. Every gun, every missile, every weapon they had aimed at the ship that had appeared from nowhere. Commander Lee Han's response came back instantly. His voice was still calm, almost casual. Wrong answer. Then he said 3 words that changed everything. All batteries fire. The human battlecruiser erupted with light. Weapons didn't even know existed opened fire simultaneously. The space between the Indomitable and the fleet became a deadly web of energy beams, slugs, and missiles. In the command center of Meridian 7, everyone stood frozen, watching a single human warship engage an entire enemy fleet. My gods, Sung's voice came over the comm. They came for us. They actually came. Couldn't speak. He watched the tactical display as the Indomitable tore into the fleet with terrible precision. This wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration of what human military vessels could do when they were angry. And they were very, very angry. The tide had turned. The darkness had broken. Help had come howling from the void, and it was time for them to learn what happened when you threatened humanity's people. The cruiser opened fire first, launching a spread of missiles that would have destroyed any normal ship. The Indomitable's point defense grid came alive. Hundreds of small guns tracked the incoming missiles with computer precision. Every single missile exploded before it got within 5 kilometers of the battlecruiser. The defense grid didn't miss once. On Meridian 7, Commander watched his tactical display in amazement. They had fired enough missiles to level a city. The human ship swatted them aside like insects. How is that possible? Park breathed. The Indomitable moved forward through the debris of the destroyed missiles. Its batteries spoke next. The sound didn't carry through space, but could see the results. Tungsten slugs accelerated to incredible speeds punched through the cruiser's shields like they weren't even there. The impacts rippled along the enemy ship's hull, tearing armor plating apart. The cruiser tried to turn away, but it was too late. The Indomitable's next volley hit the ship's reactor. The cruiser exploded in a brief flash of light, then went dark and dead, tumbling through space. One down, Wu said. His hand shook as he watched the sensors. 11 to go. 2 more warships moved to flank the human battlecruiser, trying to catch it in crossfire. Commander Lee Han saw the trap and did something impossible. The Indomitable's engines flared, and the massive ship spun on its axis, presenting its heavily armored belly to one attacker while its top batteries engaged the other. The coordination was perfect. The human ship fired on both enemies simultaneously. One destroyer took a direct hit to its bridge. The other lost its entire port side to a barrage. Both ships went silent, their crews dead or dying. 3 ships down in 90 seconds, Sung's voice came over the comm. He was watching from the security station. I've never seen anything like this. But they were adapting. The remaining 9 warships stopped attacking individually and started coordinating their fire. They learned to concentrate on one section of the Indomitable's shields, trying to overwhelm the defenses through sheer volume. The human battlecruiser's shields began to glow red as they absorbed the punishment. Warning lights flashed on its hull. They were hitting harder now, working together. Inside the Indomitable's bridge, Fleet Commander Lee Han stood calmly at his command station. His uniform was perfectly neat despite the battle raging around him. Damage reports flowed in from all sections, but his voice remained steady. "Shield status?" he asked. "Forward shields at 60%, his second-in-command, Mi, reported. She was a veteran officer with short black hair and steady hands. "They're concentrating fire on our bow." "Then let's give them a better target," Lee Han said. "All power to rear shields. Emergency thrust execute now." The Indomitable's engines roared to life at full power. The battlecruiser shot backward through space, moving away from the fleet. But this wasn't a retreat. As the ship moved, it spun slowly, bringing fresh shield sections to face the enemy while damaged shields recharged. "Launch fighters," Lee Han ordered. Bays along the Indomitable's hull opened. Small craft poured out like angry hornets. These were Valkyrie interceptors, single-pilot fighters designed for one purpose: killing enemy ships. 24 fighters formed up and accelerated toward the fleet. On Meridian 7, Lieutenant Ho watched the fighters launch with his jaw hanging open. "They're so fast, look at them move." The Valkyries hit the formation like a hammer. They didn't try to dogfight. Instead, they worked in coordinated pairs, targeting the enemy ship's weak points. Engines, sensor arrays, weapon mounts. The fighters were too small and fast for the gunners to track. A frigate tried to swat one of the fighters with its point defense. The Valkyrie pilot rolled underneath the fire, came up behind the frigate, and put 2 missiles into its reactor housing. The frigate went dark. 4 down, Park counted. She couldn't look away from the display. 8 remaining plus the dreadnought. Admiral N was no fool. He saw his fleet being torn apart and made a decision. The dreadnought would end this personally. The massive ship's engines lit up and it charged directly at the Indomitable. Its armor was 3 times thicker than any other ship. Its weapons could shatter moons. "They're going for a close-range slugging match," Mi warned. "Sir, we need to maintain distance. That ship can tear us apart if it gets too close." Lee Han watched the dreadnought approach. He made a quick calculation. "Negative. Recall the fighters and prepare for close engagement. All crews to battle stations." "Sir," Mi looked at him in surprise. "The dreadnought is the key," Lee Han explained. "Destroy it and the rest will break. We end this now." The 2 massive ships came together like ancient warships of old. They were so close that the gunnery computers had to adjust for the curvature of each other's hulls. Both ships opened fire at point-blank range. The sound would have been deafening if sound could travel through space. Energy beams scorched armor. Slugs punched through shields. Both ships shook from the impacts. "Hull breach sections 7 through 12, Mi reported. Her voice was tense now. "Casualties reported. Fires in the port battery." "Seal those sections and keep firing," Lee Han ordered. The Indomitable traded blow for blow with the dreadnought. The human ship was smaller, but it was faster and more precise. While they fired in broad volleys, the human gunners picked their targets carefully. They aimed for weak points, for critical systems, for places where damage would matter most. An energy beam burned through the Indomitable's armor and hit one of the batteries. The explosion killed 12 crew members instantly, but the remaining batteries never stopped firing. On Meridian 7, watched the 2 giants tear each other apart. The Indomitable was taking heavy damage. He could see the fires burning through breached sections, see the armor peeling away under the dreadnought's guns. "They're going to lose," Wu said quietly. "No," said. He didn't know where the certainty came from, but he felt it. "Watch." Commander Lee Han saw his opening. The dreadnought had focused too much power on its forward shields and weapons. Its engines were exposed, protected only by the weakest shields. It was a tiny vulnerability, but it was enough. "Helm, emergency burn. Bring us underneath their stern," Li Han ordered. "All remaining forward batteries target their engine core. All torpedo tubes fire when ready." The Indomitable dove like a striking hawk. Its engines pushed beyond safe limits, and the ship shuddered from the stress. But it moved fast enough. The battlecruiser rolled under the dreadnought's firing arc, positioning itself directly behind and below the enemy ship. "Fire," Li Han said simply. Every torpedo the Indomitable had left launched simultaneously. 16 warheads, each carrying enough explosive power to vaporize a city block. They all converged on the dreadnought's engine section. They tried to adjust their shields, tried to turn away, but they were too slow. The torpedoes hit home. The dreadnought's reactor containment failed. What followed was not an explosion. It was an annihilation. The ship's core unleashed enough energy to create a miniature sun. The blast consumed the entire dreadnought, turning 3 kilometers of warship into expanding plasma. The shockwave hit the Indomitable and sent it tumbling. Alarms blared across the battlecruiser. More sections breached. More crew died, but the ship held together. When the blast cleared, the dreadnought was gone. Just debris and fatting radiation where it had been. The remaining 7 ships stopped firing. They watched their flagship die. They watched a single human battlecruiser, battered and burning but still alive, turn its guns toward them. "Fleet, this is Commander Li Han," the human said over the open channel. His voice was cold and tired. "Your leader is dead. His ship is dust. Surrender now or share his fate." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the warships turned and fled. Their engines burned at maximum as they ran for the system's edge and the safety of faster-than-light travel. In seconds, they were gone. Silence fell over the battlefield. Debris floated through space, all that remained of 5 warships and 1 dreadnought. The Indomitable hung in the void, fires still burning in its damaged sections, but victorious. On Meridian 7, 15,000 people erupted in cheers. Commander collapsed into his chair. His legs simply stopped working. The adrenaline that had kept him going for 48 hours drained away all at once. Around him, his crew was crying, laughing, hugging each other. They had survived. Against all odds, they had survived. Park sat on the floor with her back against a console. Tears ran down her face, leaving tracks through the grease and soot that covered her. She had spent 2 days believing she would die. The relief was so intense it hurt. Wu just stared at his sensor display, watching the ships flee the system. "They're gone," he kept saying. "They're really gone." In the security section, Sung gathered his militia volunteers. These civilians who had picked up weapons expecting to die were now laughing and slapping each other on the back. The young cargo handler Min was sobbing with relief. Sung pulled him into a rough hug. "You did good, kid," the old security chief said. "You all did good." Dr. Na walked through the medical bay, checking on her patients. Many of them had been sedated, ready for the end. She began waking them gently, telling them the news. An old human man with cancer grabbed her hand and kissed it. "Thank you, Doc. Thank you for staying." Lieutenant Ho sat in his shuttle and laughed until his sides hurt. His fellow pilots gathered around him, all of them giddy with survival. They had been ready to die fighting. Instead, they got to live. The main screen in the command center flickered to life. A human face appeared, middle-aged with tired eyes and a jaw set in determination. His uniform was scorched and damaged, but he wore it with quiet pride. "Meridian 7, this is Fleet Commander Li Han of the Indomitable. I apologize for the delay. We came as quickly as we could." Tried to stand, but his legs wobbled. He gave up and spoke from his chair. "Commander Li Han, you just saved 15,000 lives. I don't." His voice cracked. "I don't have words for what you did." Li Han's expression softened slightly. "You held the line, Commander. You kept your people alive until help could arrive. That took courage. Real courage. The kind that can't be taught. He paused, looking at something off-screen. "We're sending damage control teams and medical personnel to assist. My ship took heavy damage, but we can still help." "Your ship," said. "How bad is it?" "We lost 47 crew members," Lehan said quietly. "Another 100 wounded, 3 sections completely destroyed, but the Indomitable will fly again. Ships can be repaired. People—" He stopped, emotion flickering across his face before he controlled it. "People can't be replaced." Within an hour, human military shuttles began docking with Meridian 7. Teams of engineers in Navy uniforms poured into the station, carrying equipment and supplies. They moved with practiced efficiency, assessing damage and beginning repairs. A young Navy medic found Dr. Na in the medical bay. "Ma'am, we're here to help. What do you need?" Dr. Na looked at the fresh supplies, the advanced medical equipment the military teams brought. She started crying again. "Everything. We need everything." The medic nodded. "You'll have it, that's a promise." Park met the Navy engineering team in Section 7. Their leader was a gruff woman named Commander Mi, the same officer who had fought alongside Li Han on the Indomitable's bridge. "Your power distribution is a mess," Mi said, looking at the jury-rigged systems. Park bristled. "We did what we could with what we had." Mi looked at her, really looked at her. At the burns on her hands, the exhaustion in her eyes, the determination still visible despite everything. "I didn't mean it as criticism. You kept this station running for 2 days under siege conditions with outdated equipment. That's impressive work, Chief Engineer." Park felt warmth spread through her chest. Recognition from a military engineer meant something. Commander Li Han came aboard Meridian 7 personally. He moved slowly, favoring his left side where he'd been injured in the battle. But he walked through the station, meeting people, shaking hands, offering comfort. He found in the observation deck, staring out at the debris field that had been the fleet. "You sacrificed your ship's safety to save us," said. "You could have stayed back, used long-range weapons, but you came in close." "Long-range wouldn't have scared them off," Li Han said. "I needed to make a statement. I needed them to understand that attacking human-protected civilians has consequences." He looked at. "We heard your distress call 3 days ago. We were hunting pirates in the nebula, too far away to help in time using conventional approaches." "So you ran dark," said, understanding. "You shut down everything, drifted in on momentum." "It's incredibly dangerous," Li Han admitted. "No power means no life support, no heat, no shields. My crew spent 3 days in the cold dark, barely breathing, waiting, but it let us get close without being detected." He smiled slightly. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." "Why?" asked. "Why risk your ship and crew for a random station you'd never heard of?" Li Han turned to look at him directly. "Because that's what we do. When someone calls for help, we answer. It doesn't matter if they're human or alien, military or civilian, important or unknown. They needed help, so we came." His voice was firm. "That's what it means to be human. We protect those who can't protect themselves." Over the next few days, the Indomitable's crew worked alongside the station's people to make repairs. The military personnel shared their rations, their medical supplies, everything they had. There was no hierarchy, no separation. They were all just people helping people. Ho spent hours talking with the Valkyrie pilots. They showed him their fighters, explained the tactics they used. One pilot, barely older than Ho himself, described the battle. "We weren't trying to be heroes," she said. "We were just doing our job, but seeing that station, knowing there were 15,000 people counting on us." She shook her head. "Yeah, that made us fight harder." 3 weeks later, an Alliance fleet arrived. They came ready to fight, but found only debris and a single human battlecruiser still making repairs. The Alliance commander contacted Li Han. "Commander, we received the distress call. We came as fast as we could." "The situation is resolved," Li Han replied, "but medical and engineering support would be appreciated." The Alliance ships brought supplies, fresh crews, and news. The story of Meridian 7 had spread across the galaxy. The station that refused to surrender. The human battlecruiser that crossed impossible distances to answer a cry for help. The fleet destroyed by a single ship. The Dominion filed a formal protest with the Terran Confederation, claiming the destruction of their fleet was an act of war. The response from Earth was delivered by the Secretary of Defense herself. The Terran Confederation extends protection to all peaceful civilians who request it, regardless of species or location. This protection is absolute. Any force that threatens these civilians will be met with the full strength of humanity's military. Test this policy at your peril. No ships entered human-protected space again. Months later, Meridian 7 was fully repaired and bustling with life again. But things had changed. A small Terran Navy garrison now operated from the station. Human warships regularly patrolled the system, and in the central plaza, a memorial was erected. It listed the names of the 47 crew members from the Indomitable who died protecting the station. Below their names was a simple inscription. They came when no one else would. They stood when others fled. They proved that humanity's promise means something. Commander stood before the memorial on its dedication day. Beside him stood Lee Han, now promoted to captain and given command of a new ship. The Indomitable was being rebuilt and upgraded. Your crew died for strangers, said quietly. People they'd never met on a station they'd never heard of. They died protecting innocents, Lee Han corrected. That's never a waste. Those 47 gave their lives meaning. They stood for something greater than themselves. He looked at the memorial. And because of them, 15,000 people got to go home to their families. I'd call that a worthy trade. Nodded, he touched the memorial, feeling the cold metal under his fingers. I've been offered a promotion, fleet liaison for the entire sector. Will you take it? Lee Han asked. Yes, someone needs to coordinate between stations like this and ships like yours. Someone needs to make sure the next time people call for help, it arrives in time. Looked at the captain. I learned something from all this. Hope isn't foolish. Sometimes help really does come from the darkness. Sometimes the impossible happens. Lee Han smiled. That's the thing about humanity. We're stubborn. We refuse to accept that something can't be done. Someone needs help, we find a way. The odds are impossible, we beat them anyway. That's who we are. Later that evening, walked through the station. He saw children playing in the recreation areas, couples sitting in the gardens, shops open and busy. Life had returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after everything they'd experienced. But people remembered. They looked at the Navy personnel with respect and gratitude. They told their children the story of the darkest hour, when death seemed certain, and how a human battlecruiser came howling from the void to save them. The story spread. Other stations heard it. Other species heard it. And slowly, the message became clear. Humanity could be bargained with, traded with, befriended, but humanity could not be bullied. Anyone who threatened innocence under human protection would learn that lesson the hard way. In the years that followed, Meridian 7 became a symbol, a reminder that standing against evil has meaning, even when victory seems impossible, a reminder that calling for help isn't weakness, and most importantly, a reminder that when humanity makes a promise to protect someone, they keep it. No matter the cost, no matter the distance, no matter the odds, because that's what it means to be human.